make this live real quick and talk about the message that I'm getting from Source at this moment in time. So I hope that you connect with it. Anytime that you connect with it, just know that the energy is still the same. Whether you see it in 2 months, whether you see it in 3 months or 6 months, it doesn't matter. So what matters is that Source was conveying to me and my guides were conveying to me and higher self was the initiation of taking a panoramic view of your life and seeing what is healthy, seeing what is vibrant, and seeing how you can give more definition and vitality towards your expression as a way of correlating that with your belief systems and your attachments, but also focusing on how you're receiving and how you're connecting, but also the very fact of the initiation of your desires as a different set of actions, different set of perceptions, and also a different set of evaluating everything that is inside of your current day-to-day life. So meaning, every time that you prophesy, every time you use your words of wisdom, every time that you accept overflowing abundance, we see that we have to see what is around us all the time that is abundant. So we can feel like we're not abundant in a certain area within our life. And then we can feel like in another area that we are abundant. So it's kind of infusing the parts of our life where we are abundant and not abundant and connecting them both together and seeing how we can shift the paradigm in the timeline in the loop that we're in so that we're initiating a different appearance of expression and experience, but also a manifestation that's unfolding in front of your eyes so that you're not looking for your manifestations or you're not looking for your realities and you're not looking for your new self. Your new self is already you. It's just waiting for you to accept it. So sometimes we feel like, oh, we're waiting on this integration, we're waiting on this patience of Source to help us be initiated. But sometimes Source is waiting for us to accept the higher self and the lower self and make it very malleable. So this means that we are connecting to a way to understand that the lower self and the higher self initiates a different personality. This means that your vocal cords need to be used. You need to be very vocal and direct and crystallize about your new vision. So sometimes your intention and your vision doesn't mean that it's supposed to come in the way that you think it's supposed to come. Sometimes you need to focus the direct perception of how you can connect into the flow of energy. So sometimes in this moment, you can see that sometimes it's not about going to the store, but it's the person that you met before you went to the store. It's sometimes that you didn't even go to the store, but you suddenly stopped by this coffee shop and you found a business partner to start a new business. So sometimes there's a reason why you forget your wallet before you walk out of the door because Source wanted you to forget that because if you were there 10 minutes before, then there was a car wreck. So there's always a reason why Spirit does everything in increments because Spirit is trying to relay to us the path that we're on and where we're supposed to be. So sometimes it's the ability in this moment to see that every time that we connect into something that is more vibrant, that is more connected, we take a chance on everything. It's not means that we're taking a risk on something, but we're having more conviction within our faith. So there's a constant flow and a constant stream of consciousness to where we're being directed by Spirit and channeling the essence of Spirit. So when you choose to channel the essence of Spirit, you're choosing to channel your highest desire and your highest alignment. This means that your alignment can never be swayed, and it just means that you're not afraid to look for the things that really matter within your space-time continuum. So you're looking for the things that matter and you're separating yourself from the things that doesn't matter. And because those things don't matter, it means that they're not in good use of your own time. So it means that you're trying to minimize the things that you waste your time with, even though you're in the absence of time. But when we allow ourselves to get into the revolving door or we put something off, then that can really halt a lot of things that we want in our lives, whether it's healing, whether it's reception, manifestations, wanting to be a better psychic reader, no matter what it is. I don't care what it is, but we have to care what that is for us. So that's giving us discernment, but it's also giving us a way to not only be a critical thinker, but this allows us to be someone who thinks for themselves. But also, this means that you're not just going and thinking like, oh, this is the way to go. You're knowing the direction of your metaphysical compass. This means that you know when the speedometer is going a certain direction, that you go in that direction. And it doesn't mean that you're just trying to feel it out, or you might do this for some reason, but it just means that you're following the current of the flow and you don't care where it takes you or where you're being guided, but you know that you're being guided of a good nature and of positivity and empowerment. This means that spirit always motivates us. Spirit may be firm and fair, but spirit always makes sure that you're doing exactly what you need to do, because they always give us options, they always give us choices, and they always give us different perimeters and parameters to give ourselves the panoramic view of life and kind of see the things like, wow, I'm excelling in this area, but this area I'm not. So what can I do to infuse this area with this area and blend it together? So a lot of us have different skill sets. A lot of us are gifted in different ways. Some of you might be someone who is very artistically driven and you're able to sell your art in other places, but you've been putting it off because you don't think anybody's going to appreciate your art or understand your art. So you kind of put it off, and then suddenly you gain the courage to put your art, and it does very, very well, because you weren't basing on outcome and you weren't putting all of your eggs in a basket completely, but it means that you just weren't feeling the initiation and you weren't feeling the divine timing. So it's kind of like, you know that you're supposed to sell the couch, but you tell spirit, I don't want to sell the couch. I don't want to do that, right? So we kind of go in that kid mode, like, I don't want to clean my room. I don't want to do that. But then once you do it, you see that, oh, and then I got even a nicer couch, and it's actually a leather couch, and it's brown, and my other one was black, and it was leather, and it wasn't comfortable for me to sit on anymore. So you were withholding yourself from something that could have been blessing you instead of something that was helping you be connected. So that's the kind of wisdom I've been getting from Source recently, and that's why I haven't gone live in 3 days, is because of the very fact that all of us are like that. We don't want to do this said thing. We know it's going to bless us, but we don't want to fire the trigger just yet. So, Spirit will help you learn how to fire off on all cylinders and find your pockets where you can fire off on the things that you need to make the decisions on. Sometimes I notice when I'm out and about, I don't like to be too indecisive, because when you're indecisive, then there's hesitation and doubt, or there's not the sense of clarity. But it's kind of like feeling like, okay, I make this decision, decision. I make this decision here and now by my conviction, by my choice, by my actions, right? And then it falls through. But if you had some kind of hesitation and you kind of went against the flow, then there would be disruption, and then you would open up a different door of different sets of experiences that was not in your vibrational alignment. So, and I noticed that a lot of times in my life, I was always indecisive. But I notice now, like, if I'm going to go somewhere and I don't want to like pivot too much, I'll just go in there and do the things that I need to do. And then maybe next time I can go to that other store that has other products in there and then experience that another time. So you kind of have to pick and choose what you want to experience. And sometimes being indecisive is like, then you're getting that sense of confusion, right? Before you pull the trigger, before you make the choice. So that sense of being indecisive comes from a place of like hesitation, and then like the doubt comes in, or the fear. But then if you are not indecisive, if you're not feeling indecisive at all, then you'll just automatically make that choice that is more in vibrational alignment. Then you'll be a decision maker, then you'll follow through on your actions, and then you'll have the emotional stability to back it up with your thought process. So that will give you that sense of like, okay, even if there's other people around me, and you can be like, hey, this is what we're going to do, this is what's going to happen. Um, And it doesn't mean you have to be rude or nothing like that, but some people will actually respect you of your crystallized vision. Does that make sense? Some people will respect the very fact, like, wow, he just wants to do that. And I'm not just talking about myself, but I'm talking about other people. So it's kind of like a person, whether they're a man or a woman. If a woman or a man approaches you um, and just wants to ask you out on the date, you're flattered by that immediately because they weren't indecisive. They weren't like, oh, I think I want to ask you out, but I don't know and I'm not sure. And then see, then the tension rises, and then the uncomfortability rises, and then it kind of like just sucks the air out of the room. But if you just walked up to them and just smiled and like, hello, this is me. I'm interested in you. I'd like to take you on a date. That assertiveness, spirit knows when you're being assertive in your decisiveness and your crystallized vision. But if you would have got up there to the guy or the gal, because there's women who go up to men who ask them out. Um, and it's understanding it's like you're not chasing, you know, not necessarily, but you're presenting something that could really happen, and that it could be an actual thing that helps you initiate a different state of being. Yeah. And sometimes asking is the great policy. You know, sometimes people are like, oh, but like, do you initiate protocols? Like, sometimes when you go through your life, you're not always going to have time to do those type of things. So just take it as it comes and don't be rigid or tough or rough about it. So it's kind of like, yeah, we don't like going to the store. I don't like it myself, but just have that faith, just have that conviction, and all will be well. Even if you just only had like $300 in the bank account, and you know that you had to go to Publix, and you know that it was going to be a little bit expensive there, and then you had to go to Dollar General to get the rest of your stuff, doesn't mean that spirit won't replenish the bank account. But then if you have the fear that it's not going to be replenished, then that's something that we have to look at as a reflection. So that's a grounded view of kind of seeing the things in your reality that do scare you, that kind of throw you off. And sometimes it's kind of seeing like, oh my God, I'm not having faith in the world. I'm not having faith in the universe. I'm not being slow and steady. I'm wanting to be accelerated and forceful. So acceleration can be slow and easy, and patience. So it's kind of like, yes, I can be accelerated and be super forceful and resistant, and then that can cause a lot of pain. But if I have allowance and I'm kind of slow and steady and I'm going at my own pace and I'm just following the flow of the moment and I just allow it to unfold as itself and I just allow it to be, then I know whatever is going to be there for me is going to unfold as it should. And that's having true faith in the universe. But some people are like, oh, just, yeah, just work 3 jobs and like try to manifest all this money and stuff like this. And that's like that's like having a boxing match with yourself and also with God. And God kind of laughs when you do that because it's painful. You know, it's painful. It's not only painful for you, but it's painful for the people around you. And then you're going to make decisions and choices that people around you are going to be a part of your reality, and then they won't want to be around you, right? So it's kind of like sometimes we just have to take it in doses and take it in increments. And if we allow ourselves to do that, then we can really start manifesting and making a difference. But if we're rigid and we're insistent and we get mad because an ant gets into my Irish cream monster, just let him get out. You know, I don't have to crush him, but I can tell him to get out of my coffee. So it's just simple as that. It's just having faith in the universe. It's just having faith in God. And sometimes God doesn't mind if you're a little brash with him or her. Everybody always wants to say enlightened, repent, or holy, or heathen, you know. I think that can go both hand in hand. Um, we can be a heathen or we can be enlightened. We can be very holy and gracious, or we can be very ungrateful and bashful. So, heaven on earth, grace, opening up to the unction of God, can go many different scenarios if you wanted to. You can have your worst scenario, but then you can see this other scenario is more graceful and it has a much better intention. And you just be yourself. That's all you have to do, is just completely be yourself. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect. I'm not saying you have to be an emotionless robot, because I'm not an emotionless robot. I still, in my 4 or 5 years, we all still deal with things, even people who are in the path for 20 years. But it doesn't mean we have to stoop to a certain level. So that's what Source has been helping me out with, and giving this message. So we're going to do a meditation. I hope that this message helped you, but also you guys can book private sessions. And also, I'm going to be going live around 10 or 11 p.m. Eastern doing readings, healings, activations. So we're going to do a meditation. I hope everyone is doing well, and I hope you can hear me well. I've been starting to use the headphones because I feel like it's helping the audio and not be so noisy, because sometimes the wind is very noisy and stuff. So anyways, and if you're in a hot area, make sure that you wear a hat. Make sure that you stay hydrated. Um, yeah, stay hydrated. So we're going to relax and just take a deep breath. Don't be the guided meditation, just let the meditation guide you. Let the guided meditative state guide you. This was something that Spirit was very diligent about conveying to me, was the very fact that sometimes we feel like the guided meditation is going to solve the problem. But it's the allowance of being guided by the meditation which helps us be guided, which helps us to open up to love, which helps us to be humble, to be gracious, to be righteous, and to be loving, and conveying that expression to God. The vocalization, the words of wisdom, the things will organically come out if you choose to surrender. But don't withhold blessings because you're afraid of making those decisive decisions, those choices, those actions. And we see that when we do this, when we open up to this, when we find this innate clarity, we see that we are not a person. We're not a punching bag of this universe, but we are a being of love and light. But the only way to do this, and to do it in a way that makes sense and that is real, is that you in this moment be very direct. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't have judgment toward yourself. Don't punish yourself because you have doubts or have fears or have limitations or expectations over your outcomes. Those are the things that help you grow and mature and connect. I've had several doubts. I've had several things not work out. And I've had several days where I give these kind of messages, and then they go out the window. That's called being humble, and that's called being someone that is a part of reality in meditation and healing. So sometimes ask yourself, what am I doing to myself? How am I producing self-harm or judgment or an expectation of myself that I'm never going to reach? How many times have we all done that? You can raise your hands, you can say, yeah, I've done that. But what if you could take this moment within this meditation and separate yourself from it, sever the tie of it, release the energy of it, release the attachment of it, and to see if you don't take the form and the shape of it, then you're not a shapeshifter in a negative sense, then you're a shapeshifter in a positive sense. So sometimes it's taking into consideration that you are just clearing the decks, in a sense. You're in this moment making a statement, making a real change. That I can hesitate and doubt myself and conform to the illusion. Or I can say, nope, I am the illusion, and there is only I and I am. There is only the issue that stems from the person who thinks that I am me. Me is not unity. I am is the soul, is connection, is love and vibrancy. So when we purify or cleanse or let go or separate ourselves from something and we become inseparability, then our thought process immediately changes. Then we take that aspect of our life that is very blessed and blend it with the thing that is not very blessed, the aspect of our life that is not blessed. And then we form it together. We mold it together. We connect it like Play-Doh. And then what do you get? And you get a balancing of the scales. You get a balancing of your masculine and feminine, but also you see yourself super accelerated. This means that there's a light bulb that comes on, a light that dawns on you, and a realization that dawns on you. And you're like, wow, I have a new beginning. I'm on to something very good, which you are. And sometimes it's not about having a great start. Everybody always thinks that you have to start out great. Sometimes you just need to follow through. We all make mishaps. We all have setbacks. We all have challenges and catalysts and suffering within our lives. But there comes a point in time where we have to maintain the stretching zone and we have to release the comfort zone and we have to release the panic zone. So there's different zones of energy that we can resonate in. And if we choose to open up to that, then we're coming from love, light, and wisdom as an oracle. It's a very simple message, but it's very powerful if you can use it in your life and apply it. So sometimes it's not about how much you journal, how trained you are, how well versed. You can learn about all types of different things, but the meditation itself, the meditative path and what you're faced with beyond even meditation is mostly what's important because you can learn all these things, but if you don't have application, if you don't have a decisiveness, if you don't have a willingness to receive, if you don't have a willingness to open up, then what I'm saying is just kind of a lot of hogwash. So let's just release the sense of having to prove something and just allow and receive. Simple message from higher self, source, and my guides. They were showing me as I was thinking of this meditation. Think of it as just you have dirt on your hands, and maybe you have a little dirt on your feet, and just get that soap, put it together, right? And just wash it off with some water. Hence, your hands, rinse and repeat, right? Then you go to the sink, you get the soap, you get the water, and you just wash your hands. Then you flick it, right? And then you grab the paper towel and dry it off. That's all you have to do. So something very simple that you can put in your meditations. Just get the soap. I don't care if it's a bar of soap. I don't care if you squirt it. I don't care if it's a 99-cent soap. Doesn't matter. But what matters is that you just spray it on, right? Then you wash it with water, and then you flick it, and then you get the paper towel, and then poof, your feet are not dirty, and your hands are not dirty. This means that you radiate in the blessing of Christ consciousness and connection to God. Very simple, but very effective. Lastly, higher, further, faster. Live, laugh, and love. Get the soap, water, scrub the hands, paper towel. You're good. You're good. I am losing and dissolving the sense of me, coming back into unity, coming back into love, coming back into presence, and coming back into the emulation of God's source energy and the great I am. So everybody take one last deep breath. Exhale. And so it is. So that was the meditation for today. Very simple message, but very effective if you apply it. So thank you guys so much for attending and being a part of this live book private sessions. Also around 10 or 11 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be doing readings, healings, activations. So I hope to see you guys there. God bless and namaste.